Have you ever faced a situation where the world demands you to behave professionally when you're grieving the loss of a family member? Your emotions, your pain is questioned in the name of work policy. This happened with a Gen Z employee who messaged his manager requesting a day's leave to be present at the funeral of his uncle. Now, the response he received from his manager went viral for all the wrong reasons. This was a moment of vulnerability, a moment of grief, a moment when any human being would respond sensibly. Now, the response he received from the manager was, "Come back to work, it's just an uncle." Finish the client meeting, and the worst of all, he asked for a death certificate as a proof. Now, the internet exploded with outrage, not because it was shocking, because it was way too familiar for many working professionals. Some said, even my manager said the same thing. We are just headcounts for them. We are just human resource. They don't respect our emotions. We don't feel valued at workplace. But underneath that one message lies a deeper question. When did workplace become emotionally numb? When did empathy become optional? And why do employees need to prove their pain? This wasn't just one insensitive message. It was a mirror to thousands of workplaces where emotional intelligence is just a soft skill. Empathy is optional and being human is considered as distraction from career. And with the onset of Gen Z into the workplace, there is generational clashes every day. Old school leadership says work first, career first, whereas Gen Z says life first, mental health matters, respect is mutual. This incident, it didn't expose a manager or a system. It was the failure of emotional regulation. I'm not here to judge whether the Gen Z was correct, the manager was wrong. I'm here as a life coach, emotional intelligence coach, to help you explore the whole incident with the perspective of neuroscience so that we evolve emotionally at workplaces. For decades, employees have been swallowing humiliation at workplaces because they didn't have the courage to raise their voice against the power of employer, and they didn't have a platform. But this generation, they are very well aware of their emotional vocabulary. They know to speak, they know to challenge, and they know to walk. And in this case, though the young employee replied with honesty, dignity, he still was unapologetically human. His message did not just protect his boundaries, it also defended an entire generation who refused to be emotionless machines. Gen Z is not fragile, they are aware. They do not fear authority, they value humanity. So let's talk about the brain. Humans are basically by default wired for empathy. There is something called a mirror neuron system. We all experience this, or whenever your closed one is not doing well, is going through some tough times, you also tend to feel the same pain within. You even go one step further and make a call or check with them if they are all right. This is because of the mirror neuron system in our brain, which gets activated when we see someone in pain. But this is forgotten at workplace because chronic stress shuts down the empathy. When leaders are overwhelmed, overworked, or emotionally rigid, the amygdala, or the brain's threat center, is activated. This amygdala hijacks the prefrontal cortex, which is the emotional center, logical thinking part of the brain, which helps you in decision making, which helps you in understanding the other person. This area is completely shut off, and when amygdala takes over the functioning of the prefrontal cortex, this is the scene which we all witness. A typical rude answer, cold response, impulsive replies, sarcasm produce a death certificate. This wasn't the failure of a company policy, it was just a simple failure of emotional regulation. Emotional outbursts don't occur just by chance, or it piles up as unmanaged stress, unrealistic deadlines, lack of psychological safety at work, leaders who are unaware of their own emotional triggers, employees feeling unheard and unseen. Whenever there is a small spark of emotional trigger, the emotional outburst comes out just like that. Empathy is not weakness, it is the basic of a humane leadership. This incident was just a wake up call. It also was a lesson that boundaries are healthy. Being empathetic is also professional. Emotional intelligence is also leadership. And Gen Z is redefining what respect should look like in the workplace. Gen Z is not difficult, they are emotionally intelligent. They are not entitled. They are enforcing boundaries which the older generations lacked. They are protecting their mental health. They are simply unwilling to sacrifice their humanity and mental health to outdated leadership styles. And this is not rebellion, this is an evolution. So, next time when you see someone who is going through some tough times, take time to pause, listen to them. Emotional intelligence is not just a corporate skill, it is the basics of human existence. It is the ability to understand somebody else's pain, respect their boundaries, and lead without humiliating, and lead with compassion and respect. Because at the end of the day, you are not managing employees, you are leading human beings. The tone of your words, your language can become somebody's memory for a lifetime, whether good or bad. If you look at every viral workplace incident today, whether it's a resignation full of pain or a CEO bursting out in front of his team over a Google Meet or a manager demanding a death certificate. But the real problem is unmanaged emotions. If the story moved you, share it with somebody who is going through difficult times. Let's build workplaces where humanity is not questioned and grief does not need documentation. Subscribe for more such stories on emotional intelligence, modern leadership, workplace wisdom, and EI led workplaces.